friends. Today we're going to be talking about my favorite conflict theory. So this theory is called face negotiation theory. It's by a wonderful lady named Stella Toomey. And she looks at how culture influences the style that someone does conflict in. And so you should watch this video, hopefully, after you've already read about the different types of conflict. But if you haven't, it's okay too. I'll get you caught up and it'll be a great time. So there are two different types of cultures that we see in this diagram. We see an individualistic culture like the United States, and then we have a collectivistic culture like Japan. These are the most extreme versions of each of the cultures. And what Stella Toomey argues is that based off of which type of culture a person is in, they're more likely to do the following things or to act in certain ways based off of that. So in an individualistic culture where success is defined by how well an individual does, they're more likely to be independent and to work on their own, to work towards success on their own, which means that they're more considerate of how they look themselves. Not physically, but in a conflict, what are they caring about? They're caring more about how am I looking at the end of this conflict. A collectivistic culture, on the other hand, is more focused on group identity. So they're going to be more focused on serving others, on on working together towards success. Their success is defined collectively. Pretty intuitive so far, right? And so there's a more interdependence. They're relying on each other to get to that place of success. When one person struggles, they work together to pull them up, to help them, to collaborate, to overcome difficulties. And so what this means is, in a conflict, they're more concerned about how each other are looking as an outcome of that conflict. So is someone's identity being threatened? Is someone going to look worse as an outcome of the conflict? Or how are they as a group going to look as an outcome of this conflict? And so this leads, which is not present here, but this leads to either face threats or face restoration or face saving. So when we're talking about face, we're talking about identity. We're not talking about facial expression, which people guess if they hear this theory. They assume face is actually talking about face, but it's talking about identity and how people see you and how you see yourself. So when someone is feeling like their face is being threatened, like their identity is being threatened, they'll either threaten back or they will threaten other person's faces, or they'll try to restore their own face if they come from this individualistic culture or if they lean more on this individualistic scale. Whereas someone who's more concerned with mutual face maintenance or other face maintenance, if they feel their face threatened, it's really going to have minimal impact. However, if someone else's face is being threatened in the interaction, if someone else's identity is being threatened in the interaction, they're more likely to restore the group face or help restore the individual's face identity that's being threatened. And so the choice to either face threaten or to restore face will lead someone to choose one of these conflict strategies, one of these conflict styles. So if we're practicing self-face maintenance, which means we're working on restoring our own face or to threaten other people's face, we're more likely to be participating in one of these top three conflict styles. So the first conflict style is dominating or competing. This is where you have a win at all costs type of conflict style. And to be honest, this is the type of conflict style that I used to have before I started studying conflict. So if you feel like this might be you, it's okay. You can learn to do other things, because this form of conflict style is really harmful to relationships if this is a default. However, it's appropriate to use this when you care more about the topic than about your relationship with the other person. Some things are more important than a relationship, like maybe making a stand on values or advocating for someone else. Competing for that or dominating style may be really appropriate for that if your relationship with the person that you're in conflict with is less important than the topic of conflict. We're also more likely to be emotionally expressive, so we talk about our emotions and how the conflict or the conflict topic is influencing our feelings. And we're more likely to, unfortunately, be passive aggressive. So that may mean that we are snarky, or where we do the silent treatment, or kind of make things uncomfortable for the other person in conflict unnecessarily, instead of actually talking about what the conflict is about. Now, if we're caring more about this mutual face maintenance or this other face maintenance, we're more likely to be participating in one of these three. Now, I know that there's only lines coming from other face maintenance, but that's totally my error. I couldn't figure out how to make these lines from mutual face maintenance also point to these three. But I want you to know that both of these should be pointing at all three of these three. So let's go ahead and talk about compromising and integrating. So these are often conceptualized as two different types of conflict styles, and there's also another called collaborating that should fall into here. So compromising is where you each give up something and you both get something. Integrating is very, very similar to both compromising and collaborating. Collaborating is where you both or all parties set aside what they came into the conflict with, and they creatively work together to come up with new solutions or new ideas. So they both set aside what they want. They both set aside their feelings toward the topic and work together to get something new and unique and innovative. Both of these maintenance strategies also tend to participate in third-party help. So they're more likely to bring in a mediator or to listen to other people's perspective, an arbitrator even, on what the outcome of the conflict is. And they trust that third-party person. What the third-party person says goes. And that's okay. That can be really helpful for relationships as well. And I want to reiterate that the passive-aggressive and the dominating and competing are very harmful to the relationship. Emotional expression is not necessarily. It's important to talk through what's the impact of what's being said and how it's being said in the conflict. Compromising, integrating, and collaborating actually help relationships. They help deepen relationships. Bringing in third-party help probably has very little impact on the relationship status. But again, it helps maintain the status of that relationship and their identities. Finally, avoiding and obliging are two different conflict styles that are related. The avoiding style is where you just never participate in the conflict. You may physically or emotionally, or both, separate yourself from the conflict so that the other person can be right. Obliging is where you just agree with whatever the other person says. And so that helps them feel better, but both of these actually leave the individual feeling very dissatisfied with the conflict because they consistently don't get what they want out of the conflict. Whereas with the compromising, integrating, collaborating, they're more likely to get something that they want. Avoiding and obliging, they don't get anything that they want. Third party, that's kind of unpredictable. It's just based off of what the third party does. So while this is typically talked about when we're talking about conflict between cultures and within cultures, so within American culture and within collectivistic cultures, we really should view this as a spectrum. The individual, because an individual may be, even though they have grown up in an individualistic culture, so we're going to say this is individualistic, this is collectivistic, even though they may grow up in, let's say, America, they may actually be placed more over here. So they may have some collectivistic tendencies. They're never going to be over here where it's the most extreme collectivistic. But, and vice versa. The collectivistic person who's grown up in that culture may also have some of those individualistic tendencies. And so there may be some use of multiple strategies based off of where someone is on the spectrum. So I think it's really important that we understand all of this, because we all have different experiences that may be leading us to choose different conflict management styles. And so identifying what conflict style someone is using may help us understand their culture, and vice versa. Understanding their culture may help us better understand why they're choosing to threaten other people's face, or to restore other people's face, or to practice self-restoration instead of other restoration, and understanding the choices that people are making in conflict. So while it's typically applied to intercultural or intracultural conflict, I believe it has universal application. And I can't wait to see what you have to say about my favorite conflict theory, face negotiation theory.